sales just came naturally to me. But training people, I was probably the worst trainer in the world.
What do you think differentiates people that make it and people that don't?
If you want to move in life, start thinking how other people think.
Yeah.
Public speaking, that's a fundamental rule. People need to experience pain.
Yeah.
The only exception to that rule is... Okay, welcome Scott. Welcome Scott to the first episode. It's the official first episode of the Ask the CEO podcast series. So again, just so everybody's on the same page, the goal of this podcast is a networking opportunity, right? So we're gonna mix it between myself and the other co-founder, Jeremy Van Akerlaken. And it's an opportunity to ask whatever question you may have. But for those of you that don't know Scott, Scott has been with Community Collective for the last 3 years, almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years now.
Almost 3 years, right? He's gone through some ups and downs, right? Lots of character building moments.
Definitely.
But right now you're at the stage where you're on a team that is generating at the moment $1.3 million a year in revenue.
Yeah.
And I believe over the next 6 months, you will hit the $2 million mark. And I also believe that by the end of next year, you're going to officially become a partner of the Community Collective conglomerate, right? So the future looks bright.
It looks good.
The future looks bright. But again, welcome everybody. And Scott, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to be here. I'm Scott Kingsbury. I've been in the industry and in sales since January 31st in 2022. So it's coming up to 3 years now. Currently, I'm a team leader with 20 people. Sorry, not 20 people, 10 people in my team. Looking to step into management roles and then partnership and ownership of my own company in the not so distant future. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's been the highlight of my life so far, being in sales and working in the industry. It's been a good journey for me. Some of the questions I had prepared for yourself, it's talking about your journey through the business. You've been in the industry for 8 years, is it? 8 years?
March next year is 10.
Grey area, yeah. Okay, 10 years.
10
wow.
years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So for me, being in the business for 3 years, I'd like to ask you where you were at when you were 3 years into the industry.
Yeah. Terrible place, to be honest, when I was 3 years in, because my first year... Well, the first year, like everybody else, I had to learn a lot, right? So, as you know, I came to this country as a foreigner. You know, the language wasn't my strength either. So the first year was about learning.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I was very good at sales, right? Because of, I don't know, sales just came naturally to me. But training people, I was probably the worst trainer in the world, right?
Why?
So
Why do you think that?
Well, because I just assumed that everybody had to be like me. And for me, learning sales was so easy. It generally took me... 1 week to learn how to sell, right? Because, I don't know, man, I was working very hard. I was very determined. I never lost my attitude. I never lost motivation. Like, that's just not me.
Yeah.
You know, people rejecting me didn't fuss me at all. So when I started training people and they were losing their mentality, they were losing their willpower, their determination, I just couldn't understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know, I was raised by my father, and my father always told me that you're either a born salesperson or you aren't, right? He doesn't believe in you can train somebody to be able to be a salesperson. So fundamentally, I had the same belief. So when somebody didn't work out in the first 2 weeks, I just gave up on them, right? So that was my first year. I lost a lot of people, So end of year one wasn't the greatest. Year two was amazing because that's where I learned my lessons. A new coach stepped in. And I actually understood that people are different and I need to be able to adapt to people, right? So the second year was great. And then the third year, I became a little bit too cocky. I started making money for the first time. I started making real money at the end of year two. So then year three, what I did, which is what a lot of people do as soon as they start making money, I tried to open, 2 or 3 businesses at once while I was doing this. As a consequence, I stopped paying attention to my main core source of income, right? Yeah. And therefore, I lost what I had here. And then as a consequence, I wasn't able to fulfill the other businesses as well. So at the end of year 3, I wasn't in the greatest place.
Awesome. So what was the main turning point that got you from being in not so great of a place to being able to build what we've got right now?
For sure. Focus, man. Like, you know, I think a big mistake that young people make, or at least that's what I used to do, they always want to do way too many things at once, right? Because the grass is always greener and you may be doing something, but then somebody tells you, hey, there is more money here, there is more money there. So what I used to do is, instead of building a core business that was actually strong with very solid foundations, I built a very average business, and then I tried to open new ones.
Yeah.
So my main takeaway from that one was, do not even think about opening new business unless you have at least a first business that is proven and that is solid.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes, we gain a full sense of confidence. We're like, well, I managed to do well in this business.
Yeah.
So by definition, I'm good at business in general.
Yeah.
But the reality is, even though businesses do have similarities, they're also different, right?
Yeah.
So, I was good at selling, I was good at direct sales, but then I tried to open a business in the nutrition space. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't even passionate about nutrition.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. So when you don't even like it, it's very difficult to sustain it.
Sure.
So, my main takeaway was, after that moment, I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to think about anything else until I build this to a good benchmark. And for me, the benchmark at the time was, I want to make at least $1 million a year. Once I make that money, then I can potentially start thinking about other things. Obviously, with time, goals change. But at the time, that was my goal.
Yeah, gotcha. So so the position that I'm in right now, I've got 10 people. As of Monday, it'll be 10 guys, including myself. Going from 10 guys to 50 guys, because I know you've been through that journey more than once. The best way to go from 10 guys to 50 guys that you can then sustain, so that you can scale it even further from that, because 50 guys isn't even the end goal. But doing it in such a way that it happens as quick as possible without being able to ruin or disrupt any good foundations as well.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, it's pretty simple, right? So you're running 10 guys right now. To get to 50 guys, what do you need? You need 4 more people like you that at least run 10 guys each.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, right?
Gotcha.
So then the question becomes, how do I create 4 more people like me?
Yeah.
And to get to the result or the outcome of that question, you got to reverse engineer your process and be like, how was I trained? What was my journey?
Yeah.
What were my lessons? And in order to fast track the process to 50 guys, you need to understand this. What are some of the mistakes that you've made along the way that the more than likely other people are going to do as well, are going to make as well? And how can you prevent that from happening? That's how you can speed up the process, right? So honestly, man, the focus is, I need to create 4 more people like me. How did I get to this point myself personally?
Yeah.
And if I could go back in time right now, could I do what I just done in 3 years, maybe in 1.5 years? And to do that, what should I do? Okay, what are the changes that I need to make? Right.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking that way, then everything is easier. That's how we got to this position today, right?
Yeah.
So we have 160 guys between Australia and New Zealand, but it's not that I'm running myself 160 guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I speak to 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay, but these 7 to 8, I approached it with that sort of mentality. I said to myself, cool, I got to develop more people like me. How did I get to this point, and what do I need to do? So that's what I've done.
So because you've got 7 to 8 people direct to yourself, I've got 4 people direct to myself right now. Creating people that are like you. Everyone has their own character. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. So being able to replicate yourself without being able to take away their strengths as well. What do you find? Because in my team, I've got people that are older than me, right? I've got people that are younger than me as well. So being able to not only hold authority over, but be able to actually develop and lead people that might be in different life stages than yourself, and being able to get the best out of them. What do you think some of the best ways to go about that would be?
Yeah, great question. Look, even though people are different, okay, skill-wise, you need to create a good foundation for everybody. What I always say is this: if you want to be a leader, you need to be an all-rounder, okay? An all-rounder.
Yeah.
And how do you become successful in our business? Well, you need to know how to sell, okay? You need to know how to develop people, okay? So you need to learn how to train and how to replicate yourself, and you need to be very good at recruitment. That's it, right? And public speaking, I would say, right? Because we do a lot of public speaking. You gotta be inspirational. Now, in order to grow, you don't necessarily need to be amazing at any of those, but you need to be an all-rounder, okay? So when you train people, you might have a guy right now in your team that is much better at developing than sale, okay? But even if that's the case, you need to create a good baseline of sale, and then it can really triple down on the development side, right? But the bottom line, they need to be all around. They're never going to grow if they are very good at development, very good at sales, but they're terrible at recruitment. There needs to be a baseline across 3.
Everything.
And then naturally people are going to be better at one aspect rather than the other, right? So that's going to come. Yeah,
cool. Talking about public speaking, I've seen you public speak a lot. It's good. When was the first time it's great. I know you came from a rapping background, but first time public speaking in a motivational or inspirational scene, whether it's on stage or even a morning meeting, how was that for you?
The first time?
Yeah.
Well, the first time was a uni.
Yeah.
Right? And I never went to uni. I hated it.
True. Same.
But I was one of those kids that, the very annoying ones that never go, but then the year is over and you're like in the top 3 out of 200.
You're me, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, I was that guy.
Yeah,
you were that guy too?
Yeah.
That's great, right?
Yeah.
But there was a class that I really liked, and the class was marketing. I didn't really like it because of the content, but there was a lot of public speaking involved.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I did it for the very first time. I got on stage and I was speaking in front of 200 people, right? The class there. And I remember the teacher told me at the time, he said to me, you got a gift, man. Like when you are on stage, you got a gift. The teacher even called in like 2 or 3 other teachers from other classes just to see me public speak.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie, that gave me a lot of confidence. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I'm probably actually good at public speaking.
Yeah.
Plus, I was rapping on stage already, so I got used to that.
Yeah.
But then real motivational public speaking realistically only happened when I came here to Australia. And again, like, I guess the thing that I had from the start, I was always confident on stage. Paradoxically speaking, I was more confident on stage than one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay, because I learned that from the rapping career. Okay, when you go on stage, you turn into a character. The same is in sales. When I sell, I turn into a character.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick versus salesman Patrick, they're 2 very different people.
Yeah, for sure.
And the same is for public speaking, right? So I learned how to build that character. And then to improve your public speaking is simple. I rewatch all my videos.
Yeah.
And there are many things that I spotted over the years. For instance, back in the days when I was doing public speaking, I used to play with the pen a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't even know. But for like 2 years, I looked like an idiot. I was on stage playing with the pen and I kept dropping it. So when I watched the videos, I kept doing this. I kept picking up the pen.
Pens.
But if I hadn't watched the video, I wouldn't have known, right? So, yeah, that's it. To improve a public speaking, that's what you gotta do, and you gotta build your character, right? So for me, when you public speak, is like an actor in a movie. You're acting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how I approach it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say going from a rapping career and then the marketing career and then coming into a motivational scene and speaking like professionally almost, I would say.
What do you mean almost?
Yeah, I mean, it's your job to motivate people. What do you say the best way? Because there's different people that we have in the industry and in the business. In sales in general, you attract a lot of, I don't want to say weird people, but a lot of people that have their own goals and very driven people and people that can be inspired very easily. Also attract people that might not be as inspired, and we're trying to get that out of people. We're trying to find and inspire the younger generation to develop unwavering confidence to achieving their goals. What do you think some of the best ways when you are public speaking to be able to address everyone in the room as best you can?
Yeah, great question. Look, the reality is, addressing everybody, depending on the audience, right? So I don't know, I'm going to Poland right now to do a speech over there, and the conference is called CEO Masterclass. So I know my audience. I'm going to be speaking to CEOs, therefore addressing everybody is going to be very simple. But if you are in a room like ours, like Community Collective, you got people that are entry-level salespeople. You got people that are training for the first time. You got people that have a good-sized team. You got partners. You got such a big variety of people that addressing everybody is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So the way I approach it, especially for our internal conferences, before I write any speech, I ask myself, what is the objective that I want to achieve through this speech?
Yeah.
What do I want to happen as a consequence of this speech? And then I simply ask myself, what does the company need the most right now?
Yeah.
What's the biggest issue? Yeah. Is the fact that the new people need to feel more confident about themselves? Is the fact that maybe the new trainers need a few tips in order to train better? Is the fact that the partners, they need to think bigger? And I ask myself, what's the priority? And even though I try to kind of tailor what I'm saying to everybody, I then triple down on a specific niche in the room.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's difficult to do, man. Like if you are invited to a conference where the niche is ultra defined, simple. When you have a lot of different people in the room, might be a little bit more difficult, right? But also what I always try to ask myself is this. I try to put myself in other people's mind. And I always ask myself, if I was that person, what would I be thinking?
Yeah.
It's funny. I just forced my girlfriend to watch Godfather 1 and Godfather 2.
How was that?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. You should ask her. I don't know if she enjoyed it, but she said so. The movie finished and I was like, best movie ever.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was okay. But there is a scene there where Michael Corleone says, you know, the biggest takeaway that I learned from my father is if you want to move in life, you need to start thinking how other people think.
Yeah.
And in public speaking, that's a fundamental rule.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about what I want to say. It's about how are the people in the room feeling right now. If I was them, if I was that group, what would I be thinking?
Yeah.
Not with my personality, not with my situation. If I was in their situation, with their belief system, with their life, what would I be concerned about? What would I be afraid of? Okay, and based on that, I tailor the message to that specific group.
Yeah, and you do that before you go on stage. Like you do that while you're preparing the speech.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So as you probably noticed, whenever I do a speech, a lot of people come up to me and they always say, man, I felt that you were speaking directly. Yeah. And I'm like, well, the reason why you felt that way is pretty simple, because whatever it is that you're trying to do, I've done it.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to do it, guess what? I was also struggling.
Yeah.
I was also fearful. I was also fucking things up. I also experienced failure. I also had times where I didn't believe in myself. So even though everybody believes that they are so different, and they're like, my situation is completely unrelated to yours, the bottom line is situations are always very similar, and the things that we struggle with are always very similar, right? What do people generally struggle with? They don't believe in themselves. Their personal life is not on point. They're not good students. You know, maybe they've tried to do something. They failed the first couple of times, and therefore they assume that they're never going to be the guy. They're never going to be the girl. It's always the same stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so, that's what I ask myself. I see a lot of people, when they public speak, they just write a speech.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be talking about that. It's great. The content is great. And I'm like, man, nobody cares about the content, whether it's great or not. The content needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lesson that I can give you. The content needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
Because when the content is relevant, you trigger emotions in the room. And when you trigger emotions in the room, people tend to remember what it is that you said. If your speech is just extremely logical, okay, and it's a very rational speech, okay, they're going to remember something. But if you can have an emotional response from the crowd, they're going to remember you very well.
Yeah.
Okay? And if I can add as well, my main rule of public speaking is this. I spend a lot of time designing the introduction and the close, and not much time for the content, because the content, I know it.
Yeah.
Okay? I know what to talk about. My question is always this. Okay. The introduction grabs the attention, and the close gets you remembered.
Yeah.
That's the main rule. So I spend a lot of time in the intro, and I'm like, now that I've defined my objective with this speech, how am I going to catch their attention?
Yeah.
And in order to catch attention, you need some emotions in the introduction. You need to speak directly to the niche that you're targeting, right? Yeah. So now they're paying attention. Then if you got their attention, they're just going to listen to the content because they feel that you're speaking to them directly. And then you got to have a powerful close, okay? So even in the close, I like to deploy a lot of emotions simply because I want them to remember it.
Yeah.
You don't remember anything where you were not emotionally involved, right? Yeah. You do remember the first time that somebody told you I love you or vice versa, but you don't remember what you had for dinner 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Unless it was an amazing dinner and you were emotionally involved.
Yeah, it was really
so
good.
You need emotions, man.
Yeah, cool. Speaking on, like, everyone going through the same journey, everyone facing the same struggles in this sort of industry, what do you think differentiates people that make it and people that don't?
Not giving up.
Not even just in sales, but in life in general.
Not giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think people give up?
So, I went to a conference one time, I can't remember exactly, but the biggest correlation to success is literally the ability to not give up.
Yeah.
Because they say, I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but they say the 60% of success is luck.
Yeah.
Right? Even though I want to take the credit for everything that I've done, I got lucky many times, man.
Yeah.
Like, there were many situations where if things had gone the other way, I wouldn't be here today. So you can take the credit for everything, but luck is a big component. So there is a very high probability that when you're trying to be successful, you get unlucky. There may be a macro situation like COVID.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's think about COVID for a second. Okay? COVID happened after my comeback year.
Yeah.
2019 was my redemption year. I got myself to make $1 million a year. And then COVID happened. I was back down to zero.
Yeah, slap.
Well, that's bad luck. It wasn't me. I didn't fuck anything up. Like, that was me. Okay. Well, I'm from Europe. I'm from overseas. A lot of people would have given up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did. I had people working with me at the time that were foreigners that just went back home.
Yeah.
Right? So the ability not to give up, man. And ultimately, the 3 attributes that we always promote, always be a good student. Don't have an ego. Learn, right? And being a good student, the way I look at that is when you're a good student, you just steal informations from other people. Whereas a lot of people are way too egotistical.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to work it out on my own. And I'm like, what's the goal, man? Do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? Because I don't give a fuck about being right all the time. I don't want to work it out on my own. I want to work it out, period.
Yeah.
And whether I steal a little bit here and a little bit there, that's okay with me. So student mentality is the first. Work ethic, you got to work.
Yeah.
Okay? I know, you know, you watch a lot of videos online these days and they say work smart, don't work hard, whatever. I don't fucking know. I work hard. That's what's working for me. I'm not an idiot. When I work, I'm productive. But at the beginning of my career, I had to work my fucking brain off.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, you know, we talk about mentality a lot, willpower. In my opinion, if somebody is a good student, if somebody has the unwavering work ethic, and if somebody has a strong willpower, if they don't give up, if they keep persisting until they succeed, in the end, they will. Look at your situation, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay? A lot of people, if they had gone through what it is that you had gone through, they would have given up by now.
Yeah.
Because you did lose, what, 2 or 3 teams?
3.
Okay, 3 teams. How did that feel at the time? Were you happy?
No.
Were you excited? Were you ecstatic?
It was tough, and you do think about leaving as well. You think about it, you consider it, you think about whether you've made the right decisions, and
Absolutely.
it's impossible not to.
Absolutely. Then your friends, they start asking you questions. So how's it going, man?
Yeah.
How is that big opportunity that you mentioned going? And you're like, yeah, you know what? It's actually worse than it used to be last year. Like it's not going anywhere. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's the pressure that I also had from back home.
Yeah.
Right? When I lost everything, and my mom and my dad, they were like, so how's it going?
Good.
And I didn't have money to pay your rent. I literally remember.
Yeah.
Like this was me running a business, and I was renting a bedroom from some random girl in Port Melbourne. And I was at my lowest time in life, and they were calling me, how's it going? And I was like, yeah, great. It wasn't. But it's the ability to not give up, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
That's what I think. On top of that, there was something else that I wanted to say, but I think I forgot it. Yeah, sensitivity. People are too sensitive. They get too emotional. They get too emotional all the time.
Yeah.
That's why they don't make it. And also the time frames are wrong. Everybody has this perception, especially people in their 20s, that if they haven't made it by the time that they're 30 years old, that's it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? You hear it from a lot of people. By the time I'm 30, I'm going to do this. By the time I'm 30, I'm going to do that. Well, my question is this. What are you going to do if that's not going to happen?
Yeah. Give up. Or you're going to keep going.
You can be unlucky. Yeah. No? You can.
Absolutely.
COVID-2 can happen when you're 29 and a half.
Yeah.
Actually, COVID-1 happened when I was 29 and a half.
Awesome.
There you go, right? It did happen then. So what are you going to do then?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they put a lot of pressure on themselves with these time frames. And they're like, if I don't make it by then there is no point.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
If you're 30 years old, I'm 33 right now, right? And when I was 25 and somebody told me I'm 33, I was like, geez, man, you're old. Right? I'm like, you're an old man. Yeah. Right now I'm 33, I got more energy than when I was 25 because my habits are better.
Yeah.
When I was 25, I was going out a lot, partying, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
But right now, my habits are great. I got way more energy. I feel like I am a kid. And realistically speaking, my father is 67. And still to this day, my father calls me and he's like, man, I got this new project. We're going to do this together. We're going to do that together.
Yeah.
And he's got such a big amount of, he's still enjoying and loving life. He's 67. He's like, 33, 34 years older than me.
Yeah.
So when you think about that mindset, it's quite stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Because up until the age, I don't know, most people up until the age of 20, 21, 22, they're studying or doing whatever. So what? You give yourself 8 years.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work, done.
Yeah, you lost.
I think the time frames are wrong. People always have time frames. If I don't do this by this date, then I'm out. Well, that's a shitty mentality.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
If I had that mentality, I wouldn't be here today. Put it like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking on even energy management as well, and having the most amount of energy where you're at right now, being able to, it's one thing Yeah, having a trouble with it. 'Cause, I mean, I've been through that own journey myself, right?
Yep.
But even having people in your team that might be younger than you and being able to get them to invest in themselves and the right habits and having the discipline to stick with them when it's so easy for them to just have bad habits and they're young, right? They want to go out and enjoy life. And the standard is when you're even 18, 19, 20, 21, deep down inside and what they say, they want to make a difference in their life and they want to be able to, for example, make it by 30, even younger. They just want to go on this journey and they have urgency to be able to achieve their goals. Yet their outside of work habits just don't align with it all the time and not enough, right? Sometimes they might be good because it's not about being perfect, right? You can still enjoy yourself and especially if you're younger, have a level of balance.
Yeah,
but
of course.
being able to encourage them and be able to get them to make the right decisions versus the wrong decisions, not even the easy decisions, but the wrong decisions when it matters most. How do you go about that yourself?
Well, it's difficult, right? Because ultimately you can't change anybody unless they want to change.
Yeah.
So all you can do is be the best possible example yourself.
Yeah.
And make sure that when you do positive things, make sure that whenever it is that you do something, people know about it and they see you.
Yeah.
Okay? So, that's the first rule. You need to make sure that you are the best possible example yourself.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, if I try, like I educate people, I teach a lot, I educate about why having a high amount of energy is important, what's detrimental towards success. I'm constantly educating, but ultimately you cannot dictate what somebody is going to do.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to do it, then what I usually do, I just let them experience pain.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's what I do.
Yeah, learn the lesson themselves.
Yeah, because then you just become annoying. You become like a parent.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, fine. If they're not listening, what I do is I let them experience pain and then I pull back before it's too late.
Yeah.
Because if they experience pain, right, they start making less money because of their habits. They start losing team members because of their habits. You have two options.
Yeah.
One, you fix everything, which you can, right? And I made that mistake before. You see that somebody is a shitty leader because of the habits that they have, but you don't have anybody else. So that's the only person that you can rely on. So what you do whenever things are about to be disrupted, you step in and you fix everything yourself.
Yeah.
By doing that, what is the message that you're really giving? They don't even see you fixing it.
Yeah.
They take all the credit.
Yeah.
People are very good at taking credit.
Yeah.
So they think that they're doing fine,
The right
right?
things.
Because everything moves and everything is okay. And if that continues, what I do, I just let them go a little bit. And I let them experience pain. Not too much, where we lose everything, but I let them experience pain, then I pull back.
Yeah.
Because when they experience pain, that's the point where they're going to be the most receptive to your advice.
Yeah.
If they don't experience pain, you tell them stuff and they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You've done that before.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You used to do that, right?
Yeah.
That you're like, but I have this belief that I can still sustain it. Do you remember those conversations?
I definitely remember those conversations.
Yeah, remember those conversations? So you had the belief that you could go out and do whatever and you could still sustain it.
Yeah.
Then you lost one team, but you still had the belief.
That's so
You're like,
true.
oh, I got lucky this time. It's nothing to do with that. Whatever. I was speaking to you at the time, was I not?
Yeah.
I was like, Scott, you should probably change this. You were like, no, but no, blah, blah, blah. You didn't take it in.
Yeah.
So then you lost the second team.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe I got lucky again. Cool. Then you continue
third one
with
was
whatever it is that you were doing. Then you lost the third team.
That one was rough.
Okay. So at that stage, what did you experience? Pain. Did you not?
Yeah, a lot of pain.
Okay. When you experience pain, you were more receptive towards the advice. Were you not?
Yeah.
And I would assume, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would assume that when you lost the third team, that's where you made the biggest change.
Absolutely. It was a recipe of things, and the losing the third team was the consequence of a lot of things that were going on in my life at the time, and it wasn't even just with the office or even just habits as well. It was personal issues.
Yep.
A lot of things all boiled down into one, but it came down from me just not being the person that I wanted to be.
Yep.
My actions weren't aligning with my goals.
Yep.
It wasn't aligning with the things that I was telling my family. It wasn't aligning with the things I was telling my partner.
Okay, great.
All of these things, and then as a consequence, I lost not everything. I didn't lose everything, thankfully, but I lost my team. I definitely did, and I took a big step back when I was really close, and I thought I was there.
Yeah.
And then you have to. It humbles you out. It really does.
Awesome.
Humbles you out, and then after that, making the decision to stick with it and not giving up, and then from then it changes your character a lot. You become a little bit more humble in the industry, and making a decision I said this in an interview not too long ago. It's about defining who you want to be. And for me, that was being a good leader for the people that look up to me, being a good friend to my friends and family, being a good son to my mum and dad, being a good husband or future husband to my partner, and ultimately being a good father for my kids in the future.
Great. Cool.
Defining that and then deciding what actions align with it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and like cut the I don't know if I can swear on this, but cut the bullshit.
Yeah, sure.
Ultimately, cut the bullshit.
And you realize that because you experience pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gets to the point where you feel like a liar.
Yeah.
You're embarrassed of yourself, right? You feel that you're a cheater. You're lying to your family.
Yeah.
You're lying to your partner. That if you had kids, they wouldn't be proud of you.
Yeah.
That you're just a fucking liar.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
At the end of 2018, I was talking the big game.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, man, the game that I want to play doesn't align with the life that I'm living.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I had the same belief as yours.
Yeah.
I thought that I was special. I thought that the rules didn't apply to me. Why? Because I got away with it.
To do sales.
Yeah. And you also got away with it. Like
Yeah.
there were moments where you got away with it.
Yeah.
The problem is there are moments.
Yeah.
It's not
going to sustain.
Years. It's not decades. Moments. There are
Yeah.
months. So because you get away with it, then you're like, well, I can just do this. But you see, you didn't listen the first 2 times, Scott. You were acting as if you were listening, but you were not listening.
So true, yeah.
The third time, we didn't even have to tell you anything.
Yeah.
You knew.
Yeah.
You're like, everything that I've been told for the last 2 fucking years, maybe is right.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to do that. And then what happened?
Yeah.
In the space of 6 months, you built the biggest and the best team that you ever had.
Yeah.
You tried for 24 months.
Yeah.
You ended up with nothing. You made the big change. And then in 6 months, you built the best team ever.
Yeah.
Success is an exponential curve, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
When you're actually ready to internalize the lessons and be like, I'm going to be that fucking person from now on, everything happens. Ultimately, people, when they're like, man, I don't know why I don't have what I want. I'm not successful. I'm not making the money that I want. Well, it's because your actions are fucking retarded. Like, I don't know how else to
don't align at all.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
you are internally conflicted, right? Because there is nothing worse than saying that you are something or want to be something, and then you know deep down that you're doing nothing to be that person. You know that you pick the easy choices every single day because picking the easy choices is the easiest choice.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick the easy choices. They're called easy for a fucking reason, right? So, yeah, man, I think that answered to your question very well. People need to experience pain.
Yeah.
The only exception to that rule is if you're training somebody older that has already experienced pain previously.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name anybody, but there is somebody in J Hopes right now that is like that.
Yeah.
Okay? Somebody that has already experienced pain.
Yeah.
They already know what it feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
So they don't have to learn it. But for young people, they have to learn it. They think that, no, man, it's when I ask young people, so what's the biggest obstacle that you faced in life so far? I was studying for an exam one time and then I failed. That was tough, And I'm like, man,
That's awesome.
you don't have a fucking clue of what's ahead of you. Right? Life is going to get much tougher. So, yeah, that answer to your question.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good question.
Do you agree, by the way?
I agree. Yeah, I really do. Pain, I don't know. And that's one of the things. It's one of the tough things about developing people and being able to get people to their destinations as quick as you can. Sometimes they do need to go through character building, right? I think it's a Jim Rohn quote that it's like you can have more than what, like you can get more than what you have because you can become more than who you are.
Yep.
To become more than who you are, you're going to have to face some adversity. You're going to have to overcome a few challenges along the way.
That's it.
Yeah, there's no way to avoid that. So you have to get people to face their challenges, but give them the best tools and be able to connect with them so that they don't make the wrong decisions or have that arrogance or whatever it is that makes them go through mistakes over and over and over again.
For sure. But don't ever forget, you're not always going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because I experienced that frustration so many times, still to this day.
Yeah.
Like I see things and I'm like, brother, this is about to happen.
Yeah.
No, you don't know. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then it does happen.
Yeah.
And then they come to me and they're like, fuck, you were actually right. Now what do I do now?
Yeah.
I love that situation because I'm like, now I can coach.
Yeah.
Before, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because you just perceive me as an annoying fuck
Yeah.
that comes in, always wants to take away from you and always wants to teach. There is nothing worse than people that always try to teach you stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are never going to be able to fully do that. But also, I see a lot of leaders, they don't let their people experience pain because they're afraid that if they do, they're going to quit.
Yeah.
Well, if they quit as a consequence of experiencing pain, they were not the right person in the first place. Now, as long as you have the right relationship with them, and as long as you've been a leader to them, if then they experience pain and they quit, great.
Yeah.
At least you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I rather somebody quitting when we experience pain on a small scale, because what the fuck are they going to do when we experience pain on a big scale?
Yeah.
Like today we lost a couple of team members. Tomorrow we can lose 2 million.
Yeah.
Next year we can lose 20. What are you going to do then?
Yeah.
Leaders are made in time of war, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you really find out who's real.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I agree. 100%. Yeah, cool. Did you always know that you were going to get into sales or business when you were like, at what age did you sort of realize that?
Well, sales, no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Business, absolutely. The age where I realized that, I was probably 15, 16 years old. I was also raised by a business owner and my father, so that's all I ever saw growing up.
Yeah.
Like my father always talked about business pretty much 99% of the time. So yeah, I knew that I wanted to have a business. I knew that I wanted to be special. You know, I always say my friends, they had the posters in their room with football players.
Yeah.
I had the poster of Steve Jobs and big entrepreneurs. Really? Yeah, these were my heroes. Like I remember even when I was with my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to sleep at night. I was reading Steve Jobs' biography, and I was like, I'm going to be like that guy one day. These were my heroes, right? So I always knew that I wanted to run a business, that I wanted to do something. I was always the guy with business ideas. Like people used to make fun of me at the bar. All my friends, they were always like, oh, you always talk about business. You always talk about business ideas. Just have some fucking fun. And I was like,
this is fun.
This is what I want to talk about, right? This is what I want to talk about. So yes, that was definite. As far as sales goes, no, because even when I was working my family business, I wasn't working in sales. I was working in the operations and marketing. So that's what I was doing. It was more the strategy of the business. I was actually quite afraid of sales. I'm not going to lie.
Why?
Because, again, my father told me that you had to be a natural-born salesman. And I remember one day he told me, okay, that friend of yours is probably going to buy this car. And he said to me, sell this car to your friend. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't succeed. And my father kind of destroyed me.
Yeah.
It's probably not for you, motherfucker. Fuck you, Dad.
Now look.
Right? And looking back, I was like, well, I didn't have much confidence because I'm an introvert. You know that.
Yeah.
My father is the opposite. So I had this belief that to be a good salesperson, you had to be like him. You had to be an extrovert. And I was like, well, I'm not an extrovert, so that's not for me.
Yep.
So sales, no. And in fact, when I applied for the sales job here in Australia 10 years ago, the only reason why I started was because I wanted to check whether my father was wrong.
Sure.
I'm like, maybe he's wrong. So that was the first time in my life that I tried to sell. And that's when I realized that to sell, even though I'm an introvert, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Because when I sell, I'm performing.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with my personality. I'm performing.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that lesson, right? And then when I started working in sales, did I know that my career was going to be in sales? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I thought that I was just going to do it for a couple of years. You know, that couple of years turned into 10. But today, I do more than sales. Right? Most of my job right now is coaching, is developing, is public speaking, is strategy, dealing with clients. I do real estate. Like I do a lot of stuff right now. But yeah. So that's what happened. No, I didn't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's cool.
No.
I don't think I certainly didn't know. I think most of the people on my team that I trained didn't know.
No.
It's not something people tend to. Like my journey to get into sales was one of my friends was already in sales. I never thought about it.
Same.
Never ever crossed my mind once. And I always wanted to get into business as well.
Yeah.
And then when you start doing sales, you realize that this is probably the best way to ever get into business.
Best way, yeah.
It's the most streamlined way to do it. It's difficult, but it's always going to be hard.
For some reason, we are delusional and we don't understand that to run a business, you need to sell something.
Yeah, you need to learn how to sell.
So then you're like, well, learning sales might help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, no, absolutely. Look, I don't regret it at all. I believe in sales and I believe in what it does to people.
Yeah.
It is a character building job. It really is. Even for the people that are not pursuing sales as a long-term career, working in direct sales, I'm talking, okay, where you deal with a cold market. If you do that for 1 year, you become stronger. Period.
Yeah, I agree. There's no other way to
No
put
other
it.
way. No.
You always knew that you were going to be successful?
Yeah.
It's 100% certainty.
Yeah, 100%. Then, actually, before I came to Australia, not only I knew that I was going to be successful, I think I was 3 levels beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, I believed that I was going to be the richest man on earth.
Yeah, same.
Do you know what I mean? That was my belief. I was like, not only I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be like something that you can't even conceive.
Yeah.
I used to say things like, I'm not going to put this on camera, but I used to say to my friend at the time, yeah, so in 3 years from now, I'm going to date Rihanna.
Yeah.
And he's like, how? I'm like, it's just going to happen.
Just watch it.
It's just fucking watch it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Rihanna lives in the US. You're here. I'm like, you'll see. I'm going to date Rihanna.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Rihanna is watching. I'm taken now.
Yeah.
But then what happens is this, Scott. I had that belief. I had the belief that I was invincible.
Yeah.
That I was impregnable. That nothing could defeat me. Like, I had that belief. So then I opened my first sales company, and guess what? The belief was met because I started making money right away. I was glorified by everybody. I was so successful running my first office. I was making a fuckload of money. I was crashing everybody. I won all the awards.
Yep.
So guess what? My belief went higher and higher and higher. I'm like, I can do anything. I'm invincible. Anything that I touch is going to work. So then when I tried to diversify into other businesses, and when I had the first big failure for the first time, there was a big hit on my belief system. And I'm not going to lie. Yeah, big hit.
Got hurt.
Because for the first time in my life, I thought, maybe I'm not that special.
Yeah.
And then I failed again. Like 2018 is where I had the big failure. And that's where I started telling myself that I was wrong all along. That's when I started telling myself, no, maybe I'm just going to be
average,
a normal person.
Yeah.
And that took some time to change, right? Yeah.
What do you think it was that got you out of that?
Well, revising what we talked about before, because I was in pain. I then did an analysis of my life at the time, and I asked myself, am I doing everything that I can to actually be successful? And then I asked myself, what are some of the things that I'm doing in life right now that are not helping me?
Yeah.
And I identify things like going out 4 nights a week didn't help.
Doesn't work.
Drinking every week didn't help.
Yeah.
Smoking 20 cigarettes a day didn't help.
Yeah.
Not going to the gym didn't help. Being unhealthy didn't help.
Yeah.
Sleeping 4 hours a night didn't help. Having a messy house didn't help. Like, I analyzed all of that, and I was like, well, if I stop smoking 20 cigarettes, is that going to help a bit? It's like, surely it's going to give me a little bit more energy.
Edge.
Done. If I start sleeping 7 hours instead of 4, is that going to help? Surely.
Yeah.
If I stop going out, is that going to help? 100%. If my house is clean, is that going to help? And then I just started doing all these things. And, you know, the effect of compounding, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, not only it did help, it gave me so much energy that I started feeling invincible again. Because, let's be honest, when do we doubt ourselves? We never doubt ourselves when we are extremely energized.
When you're at your best, never.
Right? When you're fully energized, you're not like, man, I feel great, I'm full of energy, but you know what? I'm a failure. No, you don't say shit like that.
Yeah.
You only doubt yourself when you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
When you're exhausted. That's when you doubt yourself, when you're drained, when your eye circles are... I got a photo on my phone that I found yesterday, and I was looking at that photo with my partner. I'm going to show it to you later.
Exhausted.
Man, it's scary. Like, my eye circles are the color of this couch. They're like this. I look like a fucking panda.
Yeah, possum.
I look like a fucking panda. Honestly, I was like, what the fuck did I used to live like that? Right? So, yeah, you get yourself out of that by prioritizing your energy levels.
Yeah.
Somebody said that the two most common traits of rich people, one is a high level of consciousness, and the second one is high energy levels.
Yeah.
If you really notice, successful people have a lot of energy. They do.
Yeah.
The way they speak, the way they move, the urgency that they have energy.
Yeah.
So my main priority there, Scott, was to take my energy back.
Yeah.
Like, it got to the point where I just started believing. I remember in 2018, I just started believing that maybe I was a guy with low energy.
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that's me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I just don't have enough energy. So I was like, it's always going to be this way. So maybe I'm not going to be successful because I'm not going to be able to sustain it. And then I understood there was a bunch of fucking bullshit, right? So that's what happened.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Awesome. I want to talk about you and Jeremy and starting a partnership.
Yeah.
Starting a partnership. At what point did you realize that was going to be I mean, even an avenue that you go down, or when that was going to be possible, and how did you find that attracting to your life?
Yeah, good question. Look, to be honest, that organically happened because when I came back, my redemption year in 2019, I didn't know Jeremy very well in 2018. I met him towards the end of 2018, and he was doing very well.
How did you guys meet?
How did we meet? I think it was a conference, some sort of event or something like that. And I was embarrassed on myself. And then Jeremy, was doing the opposite of what I was doing. He was high on life. Like his agency was pulling amazing results, was the best one in the country. His team was unbelievable. And I looked at my team and I looked at his team and I was like, what the fuck, right? So step one was I was very humble.
Yep.
Right? Jeremy is younger than me, 3 years younger. But back then I was like, well, this guy is crushing me. Doesn't matter if I'm older. I got to be a student and I got to be humble. So I started annoying Jeremy so much with questions, networking. I went to his office. I stole everything that he was doing. That's an ability of mine. I'm very good at stealing. Very, very, very good at stealing because I want to save my time.
Yeah.
So I did that. I think that when he saw that, he really appreciated it because a lot of people network with you. They ask you questions, but then they do the opposite.
Yeah.
Whereas whatever he told me, I did.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of doing that, my sales team started growing and growing and growing. We became friends. We moved into the same office. That's what happened. So it wasn't something pre-planned. It's something that happened organically as time went by. It was awesome. Great questions, by the way. But to close it off, Scott, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
After the conversation that we just had, what are some of the main takeaways from you personally? Some things that you're going to change? And not necessarily change, maybe some things that you can do in life.
Yeah.
Maybe some lessons that you can take away that can prepare you better for the future. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I think, just in terms of thinking about my own team and my own business, the way I want to look at it, and the people that I have direct to myself and being able to help them become not versions of myself, but be able to come and step into leadership roles and develop them further. I think that's the biggest takeaway I've had, is letting them not experience pain, but don't be afraid of letting them go through their own journey.
As long as you have the relationship.
Exactly, and that's something I've been fortunate enough to be able to build with. I think all of my guys that are direct to myself, even some of the people that are second generation to me. I believe there's a good level of trust there. There's a good vision for the whole team that everyone's invested in as well, and everyone's very committed. So being able to allow them to go through their own journey and not being afraid to share my own stories, and when I'm doing well, explain how I've been able to do that and what things are going well for me at that given time. That's one. Yeah. Being excited to public speak and putting myself in the position to public speak more, because there's different. I've done public speaking. I've done public speaking since I was in primary school, and there's been a lot of experience doing it.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
Since I was young, and you still feel the nerves, and it's something that's it's always going to be, I don't know, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position when you go up on stage, when you're public speaking. I think one of the most interesting dynamics for me is doing a morning meeting, because it's very personal. Yeah, it's very personal. You're standing on the same level as everyone. You can see everyone's faces, and you can feel the intensity. And there's a very specific goal that you're trying to do from those sort of meetings.
Absolutely.
But being excited about that and being able to grow that skill is something I'm looking forward to massively. Right. And then scaling my own business within the community collective under the umbrella, and then being able to diversify myself in the future, maybe 5 years down the track, get into investing. All the goals that I had when I was young, being able to actually achieve those goals now, and having a vehicle to be able to do that, it's just really exciting for me. So
great. That's incredible. That's incredible. I'm very happy to hear that.
That's good.
And we're going to put this on camera, Scott. Yeah. Okay. Look at the camera over there. Okay, we're going to put this on camera.
Go on.
You are pushing for two very important goals right now. Yeah. Right? One is you want to become an executive manager, which is a big step. It's a big step. But more importantly, I have no doubt that you're going to be a partner of the Community Collective conglomerate. When do you want to be a partner by?
I want to be a partner by the end of next year.
End of next
year. I want to be an executive manager by the end of this year. Yeah. Honestly, I'd like to be a partner by halfway through next year. That's a real goal of mine. But at absolute latest, I'd be saying end of next year. But I think I can get it done by the end of this financial year. Okay. Great.
Scott, was a pleasure. Thank you very much, man. And, I make a promise to you. Yeah. When you're a partner, when you're going to be a partner of Community Collective, I'm going to interview you.
Done.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to switch the roles. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm excited for that one. Let's commit to that one. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And have a great time. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Nice.